Hello guys, and today I want to take you on the Tretogor Province World Tour. We're going to go through this map the way you'd experience it as if you were actually downloading the map for yourself. So I'm going to put up real quick just an image of what the Planet Minecraft download looks like. I recently uploaded it or updated it, so you can now have access to all the new maps since the last time I built it, like New Gedym and Sarneville and Blackhull. So when you log in, you're going to start at the spawn point here. It's the middle point between Marshcastle, Newport, and Madinah, and you start at this little crossroads. You also start off with a book full of the coordinates for all the locations. So if you wanted to go to Madinah, you would just have to type that into chat/TP, and then you could get there really easily. For us, though, I already know where all the locations are, so I'm just going to take you on a quick tour of all of them and show you how they all connect. So that's something people were asking for a little while back. Now, most of my videos I do with shaders, but in this case, we're not going to do any, specifically because I'm going to be moving around a lot and it's going to lag and it's going to have a lot of trouble loading new chunks. So going from the crossroads, you come through some small farming areas. Some of the farms are like still up and some of them are ruined. And we can follow this path to get to this other crossroads. So over there are the copper mines, and here is Newport. Now I have dedicated videos to all the big things in this world, and I'll link the playlist in the description. But I want to show you, so we have, coming into Newport, we have the Three Wolves Tavern and Inn, the Gallows, then we can enter into here and walk through the streets. So obviously, like I said, I have a more detailed version of this, but I still want to show it off because not everyone can see every video. So Newport is the capital of the province, and it's very, well, it's a pretty big place. It's colorful, although it's pretty imbalanced. So the rich houses are all nice and colorful, whereas the poorer areas are basically either gray or brown, or gray and brown. And if we come to this end of the city, we can get to the port. And it's going to be important because I want to take us over the sea to a few more places. Let's go through the customs house, pay our taxes, and get on a ship. So it looks like this is just a fishing boat. Let's see if we can't find a bigger ship to take us. Aha. So here we go. And I'm not going to cut the video because, like I said, I want to show you guys how you actually get to places. So say you're taking the ship over. This is the biggest ship that I built, and following directly across, we have New Gedym. So this is my latest town and also my latest video. You can see the ships here are on diagonals. And this town is much more modern. So over there, that stuff was built in like 1.17. This is 1.20. This is 1.20 stuff. So I'm using some different techniques. For instance, here we have a barrel that's like constantly open because I used a debug stick. And that just looks like a little kind of outhouse or something. We're using the mangrove stuff, and come inside. We have a little jewelry shop. And I just want to show you up in the city, we have a custom cherry tree that's in front of this bank. So this is the Golden Bank of Gedym. And here you can come and take out a little loan. So let's say we came here to take out our loan. This way we can book another passage. So going again by the sea, let's see if we can't get on another ship and see where it takes us. Ba-ba-ba. So here we are, another little merchant ship. So going by the sea again, we can go to the ruined city or ruined town of the Rosewood Port. I probably should have built this with like cherry wood or something, or jungle, but Rosewood Port is actually just a name that I had taken from my world building stuff. So there's a lot of similarities between that. So for instance, Newport, Gedym, the Rosewood Port, Stonehart, all that stuff is kind of shared between both. Summerton too. So arriving here, you see that this place is kind of in ruins. The ships are at the bottom of this little harbor, and we can come up into here on the broken stairs, coming through, and here you see the burnt down church. So the Rosewood Port was basically abandoned when the church burned down, and people didn't want to stick around anymore because it felt like kind of a bad omen, and it kind of destroyed the community to not have that kind of communal meeting place. So, and of course, this is the old ruined guard tower. And you can see in the distance there the border post. So let's take, ignore that. There's a video on that. So let's take the road here, and coming up into the Sarneville lands, go over this little custom ravine, and we go through the border post. And there you can see it, the cathedral on top of the city. So we go through this birch forest, and we will eventually get to the outskirts of the city. There is a little crossroads here if you want to go to Old Man Poplar's house. It's kind of just like a little old like hermit house made out of like moss and grass and stuff. That's why I didn't show it in a proper video. But here we have Sarneville. So we go over first this little wooden bridge on pylons. And here we are in the outskirts. So there is the Lilac Isle Meadery. And one of the nice things about doing a build like this is having something to look at. So if you're at the meadery, you can actually see over there that there are some old ruins. And I like to put that kind of stuff throughout my world, but I'll just show you real quick. The meadery has all these like copper vats brewing mead out of these berries and honey and stuff. And I'll take you into Sarneville just to go up to the cathedral. So we enter through this big city gate here. This is kind of like a little back alley area almost, because this is the main street. And then we can continue over here and go up through these guard towers to get to the cathedral. So if we were doing a big like pilgrimage, you know, this would be a good place to make our pilgrimage to. A lot of my stuff is kind of like Christian themed in this world. Just because I was raised Christian, so it's kind of like the aesthetic that I'm like really familiar with. But there is like one more Muslim-esque build way when we get over to the Madinah desert. So coming around here and enter through at the front the Church of the Martyrs. So here we are. It is an austere white church with a really colorful, whoops, sorry about that, with a really colorful ceiling that's supposed to be like a painted fresco up here. And we have these huge chandeliers hanging down. And now, of course, getting to the front, we have our little Book of Paul here. We're reading part of the Bible, and we have a cross in the wall. We have some little choir seats as well, apart from these like a little normal one. So we've made it all the way down south to Sarneville, and like I said, I don't want to cut away. I'm going to basically retrace our steps so that you can see how to get to the next thing I want to show off, which is Anchorage. And that's going to segue into its own bunch of builds. So let's say we came all the way back into the Rosewood Port, and we took a little boat. We would end up in Anchorage. So Anchorage is my little Nordic kind of, I don't want to say Viking, because they're not Vikings really, they're all fishermen. They're pretty peaceful. So you can see here we have a little like fishing rod on the docks. So the style for this place is using not a lot of wood, and instead trying to use a lot of stone, like andesite and stuff, and these turf roofs. The idea being that this region is like the Flint Hills. So it's not, obviously like this is custom terrain, but it doesn't extend very far. There's trees like right there. But it's Minecraft and it's a small scale. But essentially like there's not a lot of wood in the area. So wood is really valuable, and ships are really valuable because you need to go out onto the sea if you want to get some good fishing. So here we have our little like dry docks where they're building a ship, and that's the mast over there. That's the kind of like cradle-y part of the ship, the hull. We can come around here and we can see the drum tower. So this little island is the seat of House Farwind, and essentially it's just like a little, it's not like a lord would live here, it's more like a little knight. And I know that knighthood is kind of at odds with the whole Viking thing. Like I said, they're not really Vikings, so my world, and I like having little stone towers. I won't show you the whole thing because it's a pretty small little cramped thing. But we have this kind of more rugged area, and then here we have a much nicer little harbor. And this is the newly built Merchants Guild Hall. So the Merchant Guild operates out of Newport, which is over there. And essentially, oh goodness. The Merchants Guild has little stations all over the world, is kind of the idea. So here we have one of those little chapters, for instance. And I want to take you, we're going to go through the woods now. So if we read the sign, this is the road to Blackhull and the north being that way. And we're going to go through Neverwell Forest. Why is it called Neverwell Forest? I think it sounds nice. It sounds like a kind of Lord of the Rings-y kind of name. But the first thing we see when we come to the forest is this old rusted statue. And this is kind of inspired by Castle in the Sky, the Ghibli film. And that movie has these kind of like old rusty robots that are like the old defenders of the flying city. And we can see here's the old and here's the new, where someone is setting up a little mine to start getting some coal and iron and stuff. If we travel further down this road, we will come to Chilmere Farm. So this guy's in the middle of the woods, so he's farming some kind of weird stuff that we don't see other places, like netherwort and pumpkins. And that's just like a little, it's a transition kind of area. So I have kind of cultural zones in this world, and say one of them is Anchorage. So this is the transition between Anchorage and Blackhull. So if we follow up this path, we're going to come to another little crossroads. Over there we can get to the north, and this is where Blackhull is. So I want to show you briefly. I built this castle pretty recently, I think in January. So there's a little stables here and a poop pit, because I always try to include bathrooms. Oh goodness, sorry. And here we have a little red brick castle. So here we can see the little hall, the main hall. We have some little a dog bowl with some bones here, and this is kind of a weird castle. I really dig it. It's loosely based off of a few things, including Clegane Keep on Westeros Craft, purely for the vibes, not because like color palette or anything. But Marshcastle, which we'll see in a bit, is also based off the same castle, and it came out completely differently. So when I say that I'm using something for inspiration, I usually just mean like the vibe. It's not to say that I'm like completely copy pasting the build. But here is another castle. So we followed that little road down, and this is where Evergreen is. So Evergreen is allied with Marshcastle. It's kind of like a central alliance thing for the middle areas of Tretogor. So we have a really small castle here with an evergreen growing in the middle. I like the style for this place. It's like super mossy, and it feels really realistic to me, like really grounded. We have like a laundry thing just going over, and all these little like wooden platforms. So I've been hyping up Marshcastle now. So let's actually see how we get there. So following this road back, whoops, sorry, vines. This is where we just came from, Blackhull, and now crossing this little ford. It's a ford here because it's in the middle of the woods, and like there's no one to pay taxes to keep a bridge. So you just try to cross through the water without getting like swept away into the lake. There's a little fishing hut here just to fill the area in the woods. And if we follow this path, whoops, ugh, vines. Here we come to another crossroads. So I'll show you. We're gonna go back that way later. But right now, I want to take you to Marshcastle. So we can follow this muddy path through the swamps, and we will eventually get up to here. So here is like a little wooden retaining wall. And I want to show you that's where we spawned in. So over there in that little area, you can see the tip of the statue. That's where we spawned in, and we went to Newport. So now we're going to Marshcastle. Sorry, this video has been kind of like all over the place, but it is a world tour, and I mostly just want to show you how to get around the world, because I've never shown that before. So this is kind of like the opposite video tonally from my last one. But Marshcastle is the first thing I built in this world, and I really hated it, so I abandoned it for like a while. Why is there a chicken here? I abandoned it for a while, and I came back to it a couple updates later. So this was built in 1.15, and the second thing I built was Newport in 1.17. But yeah, I came back and I redid parts of it, and I added on to it, and I'm pretty happy with it now. And like I said, this is also based off of Clegane Keep. So you can see there's kind of some similarities, but it came out is totally different. And one thing I really like about this castle is it's on this natural cliff here. So it has a secret exit out the bottom. So if we go back to where we spawned in, see that this sign here says Madinah. So let's check out this bit of the world. So we come to the Pious Bridge. It's called the Pious Bridge because it was paid for by the church. So, like I said, it costs money to keep a bridge up. Because a bridge needs like a lot of repairs if it's going to be structurally sound. So, yeah, it's paid for by the church, and that's like a good way to spread your political influence. So coming through the swamps here, we get out into this greener area. And then we finally see Madinah. Madinah is the most populated city because it's full of apartment buildings, and it's a totally different style to everything else that I have. So there are the vineyards on this side and the stables on this side as we enter the city. It's built out of mostly sandstone and granite to get a totally different like color palette. And as we come down Main Street, see the fountain. So this is the Sun Market, and this is the kind of center of the town. And you can see it's fed by this aqueduct. So if we follow this road out of the city, and we come down here to the docks, you'll see that there's this wheel here that turns this pulley system that carries river water all the way up, and then it dumps it off here. So if we follow this, we can see little branches. So here this branch is feeding some crops. Here we're doing some laundry. If we follow it down here, we get into the fountain. And now coming out of the city, you can see the dragon statue. Or not statue, it's a skeleton. So this is the pottery district. I built this when they were still supposed to be adding pots into 1.17. And then they didn't for a while. And then they added them back in like 1.20. So that's why half the pots in the city are like fake pots and half of them are real pots. Because I grew attached to the fake pots. I actually really like the fake pots. But if we come into the desert, you'll follow this long path until you get to the dragon skeleton. And then if we go further, we're going to get to the Temple of Fertility. So I said that this is the place that's kind of based off of a mosque. It's not like fully, so don't come at me, please, with like saying that this isn't fully correct. But what I mean to say is it's based off of a different visual language and a different feel from the churches in this world. So coming into here, we have our prayer room with all the carpets laid down. Since mosques are usually gender segregated, I tried to put kind of like side areas here, where you would put either like the men or the women, depending on who's in the middle. And here we have a little altar where an imam could read. So here you could give the little, not sermon, but a little religious ritual. And this is an original desert pyramid, so it still has the old loot just hanging out down here. If we come now, though, to this bit of the road, we can get to the Tomb of Kings. So following through this graveyard full of black stones. Let me get a torch because it's going to be dark. But we can come down here into this kind of sarcophagus Egyptian pyramid tomb thing. So here in the middle we have the burial sarcophagus with a bunch of decorated pots and little Minecraft heads to look like pots. On the wall it's filled with bones, so the wall is just like made of all these little like bones that are trapped behind like iron bars. And here we have some passages from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So you can pause to read some of that, but these are real passages, so they're essentially protective spells that you would write down and put with the deceased in order to provide them a good afterlife. I really like this place. It's pretty unique. So let's go way, way back. Going to spawn first, and then I'll take you just a little bit further. So you can see we're coming back through Madinah here, because that is like one of the furthest edges of the world. And now we're going to go to the other furthest edge of the world. So this is like all the way northeast, and we're going to go all the way southwest. So we can follow through here. And like I said, when we get to this ruined building that we pass through, we have the option here to go to Summerton. So Summerton is one of those really big farming places. So we come into here and we can see all those wheat farms in the distance. There is a little lava pool here. It was here when I created the world, but Minecraft lava pools look kind of silly. So I decided to add some magma blocks and shroom lights to look like glowing embers and glowing bits of lava. There's some bits of stone around it too, so it looks almost like a scar. So Summerton is one of those really new places in the world. I built it a few years ago, but I mean that it's supposed to be like really recent. You can see that they're still building the houses here. It's not even like fully done yet. But we travel through all these wheat fields and we eventually get to the manor. So this is Summerton Manor. It is technically a castle in the sense that it's like a kind of like fortified residence. But it's not like a proper castle. It's a really unique style of building. You can see it's kind of fenced in by like these hedges and these little buildings. We have like the kitchens, the stables. Here we have a feasting hall. If we come around to the back, we have this little gazebo on the water where you can just sit out and enjoy the lake. Summerton is the way that you get to the southwest. So if we follow this part, we can pass by the old mill. I'll show you a side view. So there's a little like miller's wheel with a sluice gate here to close it off when you don't want it turning. And we can follow this road through these swamps again. I want to show you just real quick, Evergreen is over there, so we're not that far from kind of that area where we started. Coming through here is Greenfield. So this is currently being chopped down in order to make way for a town. And here we have a little lumberjack outpost. Following the road further, we can get to the ruins of Red Lake. So Red Lake was a small village that unfortunately flooded when the water levels rose, and now it's just some ancient ruins here. If we come through the woods though, we get to Dewberry. So Dewberry is it's kind of like the mirror image of Summerton, because Summerton is all about those huge fields that take up tons of space and it's only growing wheat. Whereas when we get to Dewberry, we have carrots, we have honey, we have beets, and we have pumpkins and stuff. When we have those more kind of we're doing less staple crops and we're doing more like vegetables and like side things and kind of cash crops. This is based off of The Witcher. So if you play The Witcher, you know that in White Orchard at the very beginning, there's this little like tavern with a ditch out front and some stables and stuff, and this is based off of that. I'm going to show you there are two ways to leave the town. So that way is to Stonehart, and this way is to the Valley of the Cairns. A cairn is a sort of burial mound where you would inter people in a small chamber dug out under a hill. You see there's tons of these little hills like everywhere with white flowers. And then we can finally get to the big main cairn here at the very end. We'll get a torch again. So this is more like a Gaelic, so like Irish or Scottish tradition of burial versus what I showed you before, which was a kind of like ancient Egyptian method. And there are also just graveyards all around the world. So there's a big graveyard outside of Newport, for instance. Coming into here, though, we start entering the Stonehart lands. So the idea is it's kind of like the sparsely populated area that's it's like a really old sort of region. So here we have like the ancient battlements that used to be up here that have like totally fallen down. So this used to be a tower, and this used to be like a gatehouse, and now it's just like a crumbling archway. And this is where the guards sleep. If we follow this, though, we're entering the Quiet Vale. So this is just like a couple of like little sparse farms, and you can see Stonehart in the distance there. So this is a little beef farm. There are some barrier blocks here to keep the cows in. And if we... I know there's somewhere under here. Hold on. Yeah, under here, there's like a dark little ritual site. With like this little like evil skull and all these candles, and it's like reinforced deep slate. Just 'cause I think it looks neat. And it's nice to put like really weird things out in the woods. But following into the Quiet Vale, we have these watchtowers. And we have another farm here. So here we have Whiteberry Farms, and it's just one of those like little... it's kind of cartoony almost. It's based off of like a Pokemon vibe of like these little kind of like square pixelated areas. We can come up here though into these steps carved into the cliffs. There's a little cart on an angle there. And if we get all the way up, we can see that there is the castle in front of us. Over there are the quarry hills, so that's where they're mining all the stone for the castle. And then this here on this little promontory is a little temple. So it's a little kind of like Christian chapel, and I'm using an armor stand to look like a cross because it kind of works. So coming into here, this is the last thing we're going to see today. This is Stonehart. So we have this wall around this area here. So here we have like there's the stables, there is the kennel master, so that's where they keep the hunting dogs. We have a little blacksmith here, and here we have a church. If we come through this tower here, I want to show you because it looks really cool from the side. So there's a first little guard tower, a second guard tower here. Yeah, that's nice. And then it goes to the stone bridge into the throne room. This is based off of the Iron Throne, as it was shown in Game of Thrones. It's like this big black monstrosity that takes up this otherwise like really nice, light, airy room. So it's full of like birch and quartz and stuff to kind of like draw the room out and make it look even taller. And then the contrast is just this fat little ugly thing here, which I really like. And it's the only thing in the room, basically, other than this little bench. If we come around to this side, though, we can enter into the throne room. But this is where they're holding a feast, and you can see all their little chandeliers and stuff. And here is where the Lord of Stonehart sits. That is going to do it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and please download the build. I'm going to leave a link in the description to the download link and to my Planet Minecraft if you want to check it out. I would really appreciate it if you do. So that's going to do it for today, guys. And I will see you next time. So yeah, see ya.